Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today, our group are going to explain the analysis of accessible city text from encyclopedia book, and our group consists of Adhitya Joevansyah, Dian, Wahyu, Lestari, Enggal, Fauziah, dan Nur Anisah Afifah. And this is the text of accessible city. We got it from the encyclopedia book. And the content of presentation is field, definition and example, tenor, impersonalization, standing, mood and modality, and mode, definition, situational content, cultural content. And next, we go to field, will be explained by Nur Anisah Afifah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today we are going to do a register analysis of the text on title Accessible City. So the first one, let's look at the field. Field is a discourse which discuss about the activities and also processes that are happening at the time of the speech. The parameter of the situation focuses on the entire situation of the text. For example, design must have consideration. The field is the accessible city. It showed from the text that the focus is variously changed, like the history of accessible city, the benefits, and also some opinion from the writer. There are three aspects that we see in field. The first one is the participant, and then the process, and the last one is the circumstance. Let's take a look at the example. These concepts were also expressed in other countries. These concepts, as it seems in the PowerPoint, act as the participant of the clause, and were also expressed is the process, which is mental process because it comes from the word express, and the circumstance is in other countries, which is spatial or circumstance of place. Move on to the second example. Design is a sensible approach to allow the built environment and technical elements to satisfy daily life exigencies. So the participant of this course is design, which is as an actor, and is a sensible approach is a process, and to allow the built environment and technical elements to satisfy daily life exigencies is also a participant, which is act as a goal.
Next is tenor. Tenor refers to the social relationship between two taking parts. In this case, the roles are playing by institutional roles, status roles, contact roles, or sociometric roles. Either can be positive or negative. And the values interaction imbued to the domain with neutral or loaded, positive or negative. And this accessible city text, where is a written text, is a non-interactive text which directly explained to the public. In tenor, there are impersonalization. Impersonalized texts are creating a feeling of objectivity and getting over from personal perspective. In this accessibility text, there are non-personal pronouns as I, he, or she, even pronoun you that refer to the audience. For example, from the text is the term UD was first used in the United States by Roy Mays in 1985. And in tenor also have standing. understanding tells about how much claim the authors lays to the expertise and authority by providing information of a factual event from the text. There are 5 examples. One of them is the United Kingdom established the technical rules among the principal builders, while other industrialized countries focus on the laws on public buildings, school, hospital, offices.
The next discussion is still about tenor. I am Dian Lestari, and I will present the continuation of tenor. As the previous presenter stated before, that tenor is realize the interpersonal meanings of text. Interpersonal meaning express a speaker attitude and judgment. In addition, the meaning realized in wordings through what is called mood and modality. On this part of discussion, we will focus on the mood and modality found in the text. Let's start with mood. By focusing on the mood, we are talking about the clauses as exchange. Specifically, the evidence we have found in the text that realize different interaction. There are 2 elements in mood system, the subject and the finite. Take a look at the example. We will analyze one of the clause in the text with mood system. The subject is represented by nominal group, thus accessible city is the subject. The finite element is part of the verbal group, the verbal group. The elements of verbal operators expressing tense, modality, and polarity. Thus, the verb is serve as finite, and the rest of the part is called residue. Yes, the table slightly changed. Here, the residue is explored. Still a clause from the text serves as our example here. If you still remember, the mood elements are the subject and the finite. Therefore, the United Kingdom represented the subject and established represents the finite in past tense. Now, there are 3 parts of residue: predicator, complement, and adjuncts. Predicator tells what's doing, happening, or being. Predicator and finite can be overlapped in some cases. Thus, established is served as finite and also predicator. Next is complement. It is answers the question is or had what, to whom, did to what. In this example, the complement is represented by nominal group technical rules. Last, the adjunct. As the name suggests, this part of circumstantial adjuncts answer the question how, when, where, and by whom. This part is represented by circumstance. Here, among the principal builders serves as the circumstance of accompaniment. Now, let's discuss about the modality found in the text. There are intermediate degrees, various kinds of intermediacy that fall in between sometimes or maybe. These intermediate degrees between the positive and negative poles are known collectively as modality. What the modality system does is to construe the region of uncertainty that lies between yes or no. For example, the clause "the main difference is probably that UD is widely devoted to every field." It has word probably that is part of the system called mood adjunct of probability. Another example are the clauses including not only a space usable by everybody, yet not sufficiently. Both have a word not in it. The not in these clauses represents the mood adjuncts of polarity, hence not. What is modality without modal, right? Here we show or we see the examples of modality with modal verbs. Take a look at the first clause. UD is an approach to design that incorporates products as well as building features, which, to the greatest possible extent, can be used by everyone. This clause has can as the modal verbs, while the second clause, to be any element which could make uncomfortable the use of the environment. For example, poor public street lighting. This clause use could. Can, could, may, and might are represent the low modal verb. On the other hand, the other two clauses differ in some way. Since design must face many considerations, accessibility must also guarantee flexible use. Both of these clauses have must that serve as the modal verb. Must, ought to, has to, had to represents the high modal verb. These low and high modal verbs serve as the intermediate degree that realize the action in the text.
Hi everyone, I'm Enggal Fauziah. I would like to explain about mode of the text. Mode refers to how language is being used, whether the channel of communication is spoken or written, or language is being used as a mode of action or reflection. Mode of the text can be classified into two types, which are spoken and written. For the spoken text, for example, a face-to-face conversation, on-the-phone conversation, or video call, which display signs of high interactivity. While the written text, for example, a scientific journal, short story, and novel, which display no signs of interactivity at all. In addition, we can find both written and spoken language is being used as a mode of action and reflection. For example, perhaps I cried as I wrote her new address. It is written channel, language as reflection. The second one is, Jay, my husband, took a trip a few months later to make sure she was okay and phoned home with the proclamation that no doctor of his was going to live in such a rat-infested dive. The word phone is clearly identified as spoken channel, and the quotation in the clause is amplified the spoken channel itself, and it is identified as language as an action. The written channel is usually using language as a reflection, while the spoken channel is usually using language as an action. And we move on to the analyzing the text accessibility. This is from City Wikipedia of the city actually. The text accessibility can be examined as a scientific exposition text in which discussing about developing city with considering the term of accessibility. It is made in written channel and language was used as a reflection. For example, from the sentence, accessibility was first applied to public buildings, then housing, residential buildings, and related surroundings, while for transport means and departure or arrival areas. The concept firstly involved air transport, then railways, and yet not sufficiently bus system and maritime transport. Finally, the concept is applied to every built environment, including open air areas such as public parks or archaeological areas. Why this text is made by written channel and language used as a reflection? Because this text is a scientific exposition text in which the language that used as a reflection instead of action, since the text is reporting the event that happened and didn't show any direct conversation. So it is made in written channel and language was used as reflection. That's it. And then we move on to the situational context. The situational context is based on the register analysis. In this text, we can see that the field of the text is about the concept of accessible city. Moreover, the tenor is the writer telling about accessibility and the concept of it. Based on the factual data, positive point of view is the main focus people consider as the agent, and based on hypothetical condition. Lastly, the mode of the text can be identified as in written channel in the form of scientific expository text. And we move on to the cultural context. The purpose of this text is to give an information about the phenomenon and to persuade the reader about the idea and the concept proposed, which is an important matter. In exposition, participants are mostly actors. Processes are usually material, doing and happening, with some relational, which is being, and the existential, which is existing. The verbs are mostly in past tense. That's all from us. And if you have anything in mind, don't hesitate to ask us through the comment section below. Thank you and have a nice day!